and during my government service, I have the proud honor of being the first grade 17 officer of Nadra, what you call today. I have the proud honor of starting from the very scratch the airport immigration systems of FIA. Again, the machinable passport from the very scratch. And last but not the least, the cyber crime wing of FIA. With all these background of 40 years in the government service, I led in a private sector organization called CIT. I own that. Today, I'll talk about digital transformation. In the early part, I'll talk about challenges and opportunities. And the end part, I'll talk about CPAC and BLI and what we are trying to do in my organization. Gentlemen, transformation is there since centuries. We are not talking anything new. We had internet, we have internet, and we will have internet. But there's a great nexus and cooperation between the transformation and the criminals around us. Criminals are always, because I spent all of my life in ISI, Intelligence Bureau and FIA, so I have been very closely working with criminals, so I know their mindset very well. They always take advantage of change. Always. Let me take you back to 1860. 1860. There was an Anti-Thuggy Act. Anti-Thuggy Act by UK government at that time. So who were those thugs? They used to fleece people in the grassroots. So the mindset was there. Double Shah was always there. So all those people with that mindset will take advantage of the changes are always there around us. So when we talk about digital transformation, we need to understand the criminals, because they do not only discourage the innovators, they do not only discourage the governments and everybody and they change their attention, but they are also so sharp that they always remain ahead of time. I think speakers before me have talked a lot on emerging technologies, so they have done my job. So I will catch up from their thoughts from that. To my understanding, there are 5 things we should think about. And I think you can't stop time and technology. It's there. Whether we do it, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not. Artificial intelligence. Wonderful words before my speaker before me about AI. Internet of Things. I would like to add Industrial Internet of Things. Then blockchain. Then combining all these, Industrial Revolution 4.0. Cloud solutions. Cyber security. Electric vehicles. All these things, when we hear these things, they are nothing new to us now. Nothing new to us. But what benefit we are going to get out of it? Ladies and gentlemen, we have to pay for the past mistakes. Our universities did not deliver of the manpower today in the last 20 years. You rightly said, in the last 20 years. It was not a demand-driven education. Just show me one document in which a research was done that we'll be requiring this type of manpower in 2020. So like standing at this age, on this forum here, I'm reminding the old people. Somebody will remind me of my mistakes after 10 years. So let's not do mistakes now. Enough is enough. As a nation, as a government, as a politician, as institutions, we have did a lot of mistakes. I will try to cover the reasons for that. And when we discuss mistakes, we should not be biased. I have been in the government service for 40 years, I am part of that. How can I say I didn't add to these mistakes? Yes, I had a choice to resign, but I didn't resign. I got my full pension. So everybody has a limitation, everybody has a strength. I start from artificial intelligence. I think machine learning, code for machine, deep machine learning, deep fake, recognitions, use of beacons, Bluetooth technologies. I think these technologies are going to make the existing business of today the products of tomorrow. Trust you me. Everybody who is proud of his business, please do not do it. Just try to change it as the time comes. And the time starts today. Everything you are proud of today will become the product tomorrow. Just go to Google, go to TED Talks, spend 2-3 hours daily on internet. You will see what's happening there. Every rising sun is observing new innovations. And the people who are behind it are very serious. They are committed. Never think that it may work, it may not work. Trust you me. It's going to work. Whether we like it or not. Blockchain. Blockchain is not a use case of internet. It's the fundamental of internet. Again, we did a historical mistake of linking blockchain with cryptocurrencies. Even today, our organizations are repeating the same thing. Blockchain is something which is a platform. Yes, it was used and it was basically invested by the people who promoted cryptocurrencies in 2008. You can use email for anything you like. You can threaten someone, you can send a friendly message. So nothing wrong with the email platform. So, blockchain is bringing transparency. These distributed ledgers are bringing fairness, good governance. Just watch Estonia, what they did. I think in 2007 they had the worst crisis. Their entire system was jammed by the Russians. And they stood from there. And today, every Estonian entity in the government, in the private sector is blockchain enabled. I fail to understand why don't we learn from others? Why we always try to learn from our own mistakes? IoT, Internet of Things. I think this is the fundamental of hardware today. I think gone is the era when we say things of Internet. This is CPU, this is modem, this is blah. It's the Internet of Things now. So, in the form of AI, we have software. In the form of blockchain, we have the framework. In the form of IoT, we have the hardware. Now, where all these things are converging now? Industrial 4.0. Only a month ago in Karachi, I told the business community of this country that if you will not take IR 4.0 seriously today, your factories will start closing down after 2 to 3 years. That's it. Unluckily, no one was there 10 years before to tell us all these things, very candidly. But today, I think every speaker is very clearly telling about all these things. And if people are not listening to these things, not giving a serious thought to these things, it's their choice. It's their conscious choice. When we talk about EVs, Alhamdulillah, me along with I think 50 professionals around the globe, we are working very seriously on EVs. We started engaging LUMs and all organizations, and we started awareness and understanding of thoughts. If anyone is interested, you can join us on 27th February at 7 p.m. That's our last webinar on EVs. We involved Ministry of Science and Technology, and they were kind enough to extend all their cooperations. So EV, only I think 2 months before I was in US with my son, and I happened to drive EV for a few weeks. So I observed it, that this is something we need to have in Pakistan. But the challenge is, in the era of total disconnect between the organizations, total disconnect on EVs, whether they are manufacturers, whether they are regulators, whether they are framework provider, whether they are government, it's a total disconnect. Nobody's talking to the other party. We need to have a joint platforms. We need to have frameworks. We need to have laws. We have to have some roadmap where to go, because everybody can't think like this. So, emerging technologies need to be understood under an ecosystem. Normally, governments bring these ecosystems. Normally. India and traveling, I just love. It's not government's job. Government job is to bring the enabling environments only. That's it. And to regulate it. And to see who is doing what. When government jumps in, try to do something, trainings and reach out and engaging communities, trust you me, I can understand these things. We have an era of what I call from stone coin to Bitcoin, from government to e-government, from health to digital health, from education to... I think all these things, the patterns were there. But the government, as a speaker before me rightly pointed out, condensed it and put a brush button on that. I think we must appreciate our nation. When I see our organization responding in less than a month to this change, especially in schools, they were not trained for that. But the way they adopted it, and now the way they are trying to adjust with these things, really amazing. Really amazing. We have done a lot of mistakes also, but we have one thing in common as a nation, let me tell you. Whether it's a person from Balochistan, person from KP, person from Punjab, we know how to respond to crisis. Yes, we had some leadership issues in our nation, but again, as a nation, let me tell you again, we know how to respond to crisis. There is urgent need for partnerships, urgent need for joint projects, but for that we'll have to learn, and before learning we'll have to unlearn something. We are not trained as a nation to work together, let me tell you very candidly. We always think of in terms of making something as a solo flight. Always. Whether it's an organizational CEO, or a new entrepreneur, or a company, or a university, or even the government. We go a step for our own sources. I think this approach is not going to work in the new paradigm. Let me start from opportunities, the positive side. Then I may also disappoint you. I think the biggest opportunity we have, as a speaker before me also said, is our youth. I travel 5 days in a week outside Islamabad, goes to the grassroots level. I am so amazed to see my youth. Trust you me, there's the only passion in me to stay back in Pakistan. My all kids are abroad. I do not have any reason to stay here. But I have very consciously decided to stay here and work for Pakistan because I have a faith in my youth. Absolutely. They just need hand holding. That's it. Just hold their hand. Just guide them. Just tell them some direction. They will do something very amazing. But our institutions are failing them. Our projects are failing them. Just see the Kamyab Jawan program, loan program. The government claims that they will give loans to 1 million people. Even 10,000 could take the loan. The reason may be any. The system, whatever, I won't go into detail. They are crazy to take the loans, but the system is failing them. So, what is the role of organizations like me, like CGSS, like NGOs, like everybody sitting here? Come out. The government is giving money. I had a very candid dialogue with Dar Sahab. He said we are ready to give the money through commercial banks, but again, it's a commercial loan. It's not a free check. You have to go to Samita, you have to make some project, blah blah. So there are step forward. Trust you me, our youth cannot follow those steps. They have a passion for that, to get money from the government as a loan, but they do not know. So they try for 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, spend some money, and then they get discouraged and drop the idea. Once a gentleman drops the idea, he triggers the message to 10 more people, and the dynamic effect goes, and at the dawn of the tail end, everybody is disappointed. They need hand holding. Please bring them. I don't know how to do it. How can we do it collectively? But we'll have to do it collectively. Tourism, amazing country. amazing country. Four seasons, everything a country can think of, we have that. Quality food, everything. But what we have done with the tourism now? To my understanding, these millions of people going to the north in 3 to 4 months of span of time are going to destroy our tourism in 3 to 4 years ahead. Because there is no concept of ecotourism. All of you have been abroad, you cannot find a tissue paper on these places. But I think that is the most stinking part we have. Whatever they put in their diggings, they drop it there. The community needs to be engaged. These tourism scouts needs to come forward. I don't know. Normally it's the job of the tourism organizations. But I think if government is not working due to any reason, lack of interest, lack of bad governance, whatever it is, we shouldn't go into details. But I think who is stopping us? Who is stopping us joining hands together? So this is the part. I think our kids living abroad. And let me share with you, in the last 20 years, I have seen a trend in people living abroad. Because due to my kids abroad, I go there very frequently. Their disappointment towards Pakistan is increasing. Initially, they had faith in coming back, they had faith in investment in Pakistan, but we have to engage them. Everybody has a story. That I was looted by my brother, I was looted by my best friend, I was looted by the government, people don't meet us. So they may be exaggerating also. They may have some extra expectation of Pakistan. But I think this is an OPF job, not my job, not Colonel Khalid's job, it's an OPF job. They must engage, they are getting millions of rupees for this. But again, the advocacy, such seminars, bring them here, ask them about their mandate, put them different questions to them. Are we doing it? No. They are not coming, they are not ready to come to webinars even. They are not even ready to come because they have to answer the different questions. And I think the speaker before me rightly said that the civil servants should get ready to go out of jobs. I think Railway recently sent out 86 officers. And I told my friends in civil service that get ready to go out for the service now. Because now government cannot afford the incompetent officers. It's their problem now. Ladies and gentlemen, the next normal will not be what we have been seeing. Trust you me, corona or no corona. Because we have been, in the last 1 year, we have been exposed to such a dynamic environment of working. I normally do 3 webinars in the evening. Normally. So I talk to, I think, 400, 500 people every day. This opportunity was never given to me in the past. Me and Colonel Khalid are doing a lot of events like this. We have to plan, we have to. Now I plan webinar, I think, in 2 hours. I have something in mind, put it in the group, make a click, make a Zoom link or anything, Google, whatever, and it's there. And it's as good as this one. Trust you me, as good as this one. Everybody sitting in his own library and talking to each other, sharing ideas. So the next normal, forget about these mega events in the center, in the convention center and all these places. Yes, these will be there. But the next normal will have to understand that next normal. Coming back to some challenges, as I told you, we'll have to think about infrastructures which are improving very fast. Our human resource development, sustainable development goals. Where do we stand in SDGs? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a committed agenda. Our Prime Minister of Government of Pakistan has signed it. In 2025, world is going to gauge us against the standards and targets and indicators. And trust me, we can't find the figures now. I'm a big stakeholder of SDGs in Pakistan. I'm running a company which is called SDG Academy of Pakistan. I'll tell you what we're going to do in March. Let me tell you, anybody who is working on SDGs, who is thinking about SDGs, who is working in the development sector, be it health, education, climate change, whatever you call it, get ready for accountability. And that will be a data-driven accountability. The exact data analytics will be applied. You claim something, give us the proof. So, SDGs have targets, and every target has an indicator. Every indicator has a metadata. Every metadata has an attribute. Every attribute has an entity. Unless you don't have the entities, you are not going to end up with the results. Gone are the days when you have to some fudge figures and paying some money to the printer. You have some beautiful document and you show the document to the government and get some money. So these things are our challenges. We will have to think about changing our attitude. We will have to learn to work together. I may be wrong from your point of view, but you'll have to listen to me. And I'll have to listen to you patiently. To my understanding, that difference of opinion never means that you stop meeting the person, what we do normally. If we don't like someone, we don't go to his functions. If we don't like someone, every time we criticize the person. The societies, the nations does not progress like this. So we'll have to change our attitude. We'll have to learn that earning is very important. Unless we do not learn to earn, we cannot lead. If you go to my website, 10 years before the written, learn, earn and lead. Normally from the day one, the student from the university tries to lead. I'll do this, the best thing in the world. How can you do it? Idea doesn't have a value. How you translate into your actions is something which is meaningful. I think there's an era of wild east now. 300 years before, when UK started turning towards North America, that was the era of wild west. They went there, they had the best technology of that time, there were a lot of innovations. Unless World War I and II, they had their platforms there. So then they capitalized on industrial revolutions, and they are there now. But now, with China, India, Pakistan, these Russian states have come so fast in the last few years that it's the era of wild east. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan is in a strategic position. The last year I was in BRI headquarters, China, I could very well see, and let me give a very clear, candid message to you. BRI depends on CPAC, and CPAC depends on stability in Pakistan. Very clear message. And CPAC is our lifeline now. We must stand as a nation. Governments may come and go. We have seen a lot of governments, no issues. We must stand as a nation to protect the powers of CPAC, to make it happen the way it was planned. And let's not forget the people who worked 20 years before on CPAC. Don't allow anybody to take the credit of today. I personally know, and it's my knowledge, that General Musharraf did a lot for CPAC. Let's give credit to everyone. Then his followers did a lot on CPAC. So CPAC is a collective effort of a lot of people. So we must take a pride of own it as a nation. Understand it. Unless we do not understand the dynamics of CPAC, before I show you a short video, I'll tell you what is the CPAC. CPAC is not a road only. From Khajuraho to Rawalpindi, it's 802-kilometer road. Alongside, this is the fastest internet bandwidth. Fastest in the world internet bandwidth. From here to Gwadar, again, there's the fastest internet bandwidth. From Gwadar to 65 countries of the world, there's a sea cables going on. And the control is at Gwadar. So, this is not a metal road only. It's the global economy of the future. But unless we would not train the people, let me repeat again, don't forget Yugoslavia, don't forget other countries. Let's learn from the history. Is it asset? Is it liability? It's my responsibility to invade the youth, it may become liability. If we won't handle it smartly, it will become a big asset for Pakistan if we will handle it smartly. How we can handle it smartly, I've told you. After a short video, I'll try to explain what we are going to do in March, and I'll invite all of you to join hands together. Again, it's a national call. I'm not doing it for myself. There's a big team from Karachi to Gwadar with me, from Gwadar to Kalam with me. Big team working with me. All of you are invited. Please show the video. Such projects at time, we hide it from the others.